Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar organized by Vinculum for best practices to grow your e-commerce business. We have eminent panelists from LBC, PurelyB, and Fabelio with us to share their experiences. And I thank everyone who has joined the webinar. I hope you enjoy as much as we have had fun to put this together for you. I'm just going to start off with a very quick introduction of Vinculum. My name is Venkat, and I'm the CEO founder of Vinculum. Vinculum is a provider of SaaS-based software for order management and fulfillment. Essentially, we have ready integrations to many marketplaces globally, 30 plus marketplaces, 50-odd fulfillment 3PL companies. And with a powerful integration layer, we help companies of various sizes, sellers, online brands, retailers, to sell on multiple marketplaces and their own web store, manage their inventory, manage their orders from a single location. We also help retailers to go from an offline to online transformation by enabling real-time view of inventory for retailers. There are a number of customers we work with. Vinculum is a company which is present globally. We are backed by Ivy Cap Ventures and Axel Partners, and we are a strategic partner of Amazon Web Services. All our software products are hosted on Amazon Web Services. So through Amazon Web Services, our customers can be absolutely assured of the scalability and security that AWS brings with it. Without too much ado, I'll invite the panelists. So the first among our panelists is Mr. Jojo. Jojo, you can hear me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Venkat. Thanks for inviting me to this webinar. I'm the Chief Digital Officer of LBC X, which is a startup and innovation arm of LBC, our parent company. LBC is the leading courier and remittance provider in the Philippines. We're focused in the Filipino diaspora all over the globe, and we operate in 30 countries. In the Philippines, we have about 1,200 branches and cover the entire archipelago. LBCX, our startup company, is about 40 employees, so we are focused on enabling the last mile fulfillment and payments for the e-commerce era. So we have several products that that we offer, and we're also a partner of Vinculum.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jojo. So I also have Mr. Krishnan Menon with me. Krishnan is the CEO and co-founder of Fabelio. Krishnan, could you introduce yourself?
Sure, we are a major vertical brand which is focused on enabling homeowners and business owners to furnish their homes and businesses easily and affordably. We started the company in June 2009 to June 2015. We are a company with over 120 people right now, and a stage company with aggressive growth over the last 1 year, and both in terms of number of orders and also in terms of customer satisfaction. We are definitely one of the unique e-commerce in competition because we are actually profitable to a great extent to both operations and market.
Okay, I'll then move into our third panelist, Ms. Jesrina. Jesrina is the CEO and co-founder of PurelyB, an upcoming marketplace from Malaysia. And Jesrina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So PurelyB is a one-stop portal that makes it easy for everyone in Asia to be able to do their lifestyle. We're a content creator. We create a lot of dressing videos to inspire different ways that people can healthier, and we integrate that with an online marketplace. So people have accessibility and convenience to find a range of healthy, natural, organic products that are available in the market that have been vetted through by health experts, which are our co-founders and business partners. With peace of mind as a consumer that everything you find at PurelyB is of quality and is guaranteed healthy and natural, and you don't have to do the research, we do it for you.
Thanks, Jesrina. So I'll round back to Jojo. Joe, in terms of the kind of customers that LBC works with, right? Would you like to talk a bit about what is the which kind of customers that you work with? What are the opportunities for customers to go cross-border?
Okay, so we have, I guess we are in the B2C and B2B2C segment of the market. So we've got solutions for customers that, especially small long-tail retailers that are looking to tap into the Philippine market initially. So these are essentially payment and fulfillment service, which is a combined service that they can enable in any marketplace or social commerce site to sell their wares to customers, target customers in the Philippines. But on the other end of the scale is customers that are customers who are looking for products that they can't find outside the Philippines, or actually prefer to shop in e-commerce sites outside the Philippines. So these are more obviously the savvy, e-commerce savvy customers. So they're we're able to essentially fulfill for them their products that they shop in, Amazon, Target, eBay, or other sites, or other marketplaces outside of the Philippines.
So, Joe, we see that China, for example, Chinese consumers consume as much as $85 billion of products which are not manufactured in China. That's a staggering number. So that just imagine the number of the revenues of Chinese products which are sold outside China. They're perfect at the art of cross-border. What do you see as an opportunity for other companies in the region? Would that be, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And Venkat, I guess this works both ways. I know for a fact that we have customers, even businesses that are looking to tap into products in China. So that's definitely a corridor, the Philippines to Shenzhen, Manila to Shenzhen corridor that we're looking to build, but also vice versa. They're definitely, we've had interest from retailers who are looking to tap into the Philippine market, which, as you know, it's actually this year the forecast is it might even grow faster than China at a 7% growth.
I would pass the question to Jesrina. What are the opportunities do you see for brands to sell cross-border? How can brands grow with PurelyB?
Okay. So in terms of online marketplaces, especially like what we have at PurelyB, one part of why we created it is because we wanted to have a lot of brands cross-border to be able to tap into a growing health-conscious community in Asia, or even beyond Asia, but particularly Asia, because we find that a lot of the local Asian brands are the ones who don't have the visibility, and they don't have the budget, because they're smaller, to be able to reach out to this community. So one of the key benefits is to be able to touch a much larger audience that you yourself would have accessibility to as a smaller brand, especially in the bigger markets. And of course, be able to save in terms of not just marketing dollars that you're able to save on, but even in terms of technology, We don't need to go to a website with the payment gateway features and whatnot. All that will be taken care of by getting onto our platform and even coming up marketing campaigns for you together, not just tapping to our database on the web. There will be strategic marketing campaigns planned out. At the same time, what makes it different? So in general, I mean, that would be the benefits that marketplaces would provide, such as PurelyB. But what we particularly can give as a is that we are content creators as well. So a lot of brands, when you come on board PurelyB, it's not just for the sake of wanting to stay on our platform and reach out to our community, but they want to strengthen their brand in the form of engaging content. And because we create articles and videos, which we won't do it hard, we're doing a very strong, affinity-driven way that's an added value that our brands usually do. So if we end-to-end, if you're able to provide that kind of experience to the brand, for their potential customers and current customers, it definitely sets you apart from others. And of course, on top of all of that, the trust and reassurance that your consumers will get, because having a stamp of approval from PurelyB is vetted through by experts. It's approved by health experts in the industry. So that too is confidence in your brand from the consumer's point of view.
So what do you think, Jess? Should brands keep their inventory in the target markets when they do cross-border? Or do you suggest that just-in-time should work as well? Obviously, the shipment costs go up when you do just-in-time. And do customers wait for deliveries, or would they pay for quicker deliveries in terms of premium shipping? What do you think?
That's the pros and cons to both, but right now what we see is more people go for a lot of smaller brands, because I think it depends on how big your team is and how much you're able to manage in terms of orders and volumes. But just in time is more manageable from our eyes. Right now, for a lot of the brands that are on our site, especially for those who are trying out into the market for the first time, and it is more manageable in terms of resources, and you don't have to put too much investment towards it in that sense. There's a bit of a balance with this because you have a range of consumers. A lot of people, when they are buying online, they're normally looking at more competitive pricing. So they try and get it for cheaper if they can buy it online, and but at the same time, you want to use for delivery. So it's trying to ensure that you get a good balance between the two. You will get the niche consumer that's willing to pay premium for express shipping. But a lot of the time, you will get a consumer who wants a good balance rate, who's not too expensive for the shipping, but they're not waiting an entire month for the shipment. So we do see some of the pain points is too long a delivery. So people want to be able to do that with delivery, but they don't expect it necessarily. They don't want it to pay if they don't want to pay a premium. They really try and achieve a balance between the two, which is a challenge today for a lot of marketplaces.
So, Joe, in terms of going cross-border, right, one of the opportunities is a lot of products can sell on multiple marketplaces. Now, obviously, you have to do a product fit in terms of which markets to sell and which marketplaces to collaborate with. Now, there are a couple of questions I have to ask you there. One is in terms of how do you ensure that this succeeds? And two is, let's say retailers want to go cross-border. How do they make sure that the brand promise is maintained? So because you want to work with customers, whether they buy your products in Singapore or in Malaysia or in Philippines, you want to be able to create a consistent brand promise and deliver on it. How do you see this as a challenge, and what are the steps that companies need to take to make sure that they can deliver on this?
Yeah, well, definitely. That's it's getting to be more complex, obviously, as the number of marketplaces proliferate right across the different countries, and consumers are now more willing to also transact using mobile. So definitely critical is identifying a partner that can help essentially plug in to the appropriate marketplaces that fit your brand, right? And when I say plug in, that probably involves being able to help you onboard. That's it's something that beyond just the inventory management, complexity, which was mentioned earlier. The onboarding is something that you obviously don't want to just take for granted. So, for example, if you're looking at signing up in multiple channels, some marketplaces may limit you in the scope of catalog or inventory, and may limit which products you can onboard, right? So you want to obviously have a partner that can also understand the different marketplaces, and they're actually literally plugged in to these channels. So there are also some nuances, for example, of displaying your merchandise when you're enrolling in marketplaces that focus on both mobile and desktop transactions. Those are kind of small nuances. But then, as you look to cross-border, I'd say two other factors that would help in terms of optimizing the opportunity. One is your understanding really the cost of how much you can retail your product, and then the other is speed. I think this was also covered earlier. But obviously, just very simply on speed, it's really more about the customers that are looking to buy across the border are probably looking at a price arbitrage, right? So definitely cost, as I mentioned. But then at the same time, if it's going to cost them just a little bit to buy it locally, since they'll be able to get the product in a shorter time, locally is a factor. So therefore, partnering with a fulfillment provider that can deliver your product across countries in the right speed is critical. On the cost, again, as I mentioned, the cost arbitrage is going to be critical. But then there are customers that are willing to buy as much as products out overseas because they see a 20 to 50% price arbitrage, right? So if you're looking to take advantage of that, I'd say price of anywhere above 20% of maybe local, maybe as much as you can go with, mainly because that's probably how much the consumer will spend in the fulfillment costs. Does that help?
Thank you, Joe. I just touch upon the other aspect, right? Means if retailers are trying to do a brand to keep a consistent brand promise, what are the I think one of the most critical thing would be to create a network of strategic partners, right? Whether it is marketplaces, logistics companies, who understand what they're really attempting to do and understand the brand promise and are able to work on it. That's what I feel. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are other. So it's obviously managing a network and then understanding which one understands the network that's ideal for your brand, right? Even simple things as just understanding the returns policy of some of these marketplaces may not necessarily be suited to your brand, right? So, in a lot of the things that I mentioned, again, plugging in, which is really a network challenge to allow for a more seamless, friction-free consumer experience is going to be critical.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jojo. And I'm going to just go back to Krishnan. And Krishnan, you feel that a lot of brands and sellers can grow by selling on multiple marketplaces. So I would like to hear your view on how one can grow domestically, how one can grow internationally by partnering with marketplaces. What would you do if, in terms of identifying where to sell and which channels to sell? Do you want to elaborate a bit?
Okay, so this question boils down to fundamentally what are the ways on who wins the market, right? Or who actually makes a good business and who doesn't. And this always boils down to the point because the guy who understands the customer, the team that understands the customer, and wins his heart ends up winning the market. So this applies to an SME or the biggest FSP or the biggest billion-dollar company or anyone for that reason. So going straight to your point, how do SME and online business further revenue by identifying which markets to sell? Number one is you need to be very clear about what you're offering is. Two, we run something we do regularly. We do focus group discussions on potential customers that we believe are customers, and we kind of tailor-make our product according to the criteria targeted. So that is very clear. Number two is engaging with these customers, not just through marketing, but also through the product. The creation of product and technology and how to actually with the team and such as the engaging with these customers for time span is also very relevant. And then goes to the third part is product market fit. So at the end of the day, all businesses, the business that makes sense, the business where there is a need, and you are able to cater to that need. So in this case, and it depends on which business we are looking at, but we really need to find who are the people who find your business valuable and cater to them. One of the very good things to note is generally what happens with the mistake among people is that they end up scaling too fast. Instead, you should focus on one narrow group of customers, win the full market share of those guys, and they will become your ambassadors and you scale over their good feedback. So that is something I would generally also feel. This is something a lot of companies don't focus on. They try to focus on all people instead, especially if an SME or an online business is limited resources, you should focus on one particular market segment, make your product market fit for that, and then go to the next level. Yeah, so fundamentally now, when you think about retail or online platform, I'm assuming you're talking about smaller businesses which are lacking significant resources to reach out to a larger mass of audience, and hence they could this model of marketplace, because it's been there since probably human beings have evolved. The bank was one of the earliest marketplaces ever. There's a lot of systems where there is one person who brings all the buyers to one place, and the seller doesn't have to go looking for the buyers. He can just focus on the products he is making, which is what he wants to sell, and working with these marketplaces. So Amazon is one of the early examples of the marketplaces. But here it's Jesrina, a few others.
Krishnan, we'll come back to you. I think the audio isn't 100% clear, so we'll come back to you. Joe, I would come back to you in terms of what do you see the opportunities for the ecosystem in terms of logistics companies? How do you think they are changing to cater to the e-commerce fulfillment opportunities in the market?
Well, we'll definitely looking at ways to generate operational efficiency moving forward as consumers definitely become more critical about how much they're paying on shipping, right? But then there's tremendous opportunities for 3PLs across in Asia and elsewhere to work together to build bridges across the markets where we can capitalize on the fast-growing cross-border market, right? So, for example, for us, we're as I mentioned earlier, we're expanding the availability of merchandise to our top premier customers in the Philippines by targeting other markets such as China and parts of Europe. So we're engaging with potential 3PL partners to help us bridge the Philippine market and China, right? So that's definitely immediate opportunity to work together. The others for fulfillment providers that are definitely more adept at, for example, addressing both payments and fulfillment. What I mean by that is, for example, cash-driven markets, which is a lot of them in Southeast Asia, the likes of Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam. Typically, customers would pay cash on delivery. So 3PLs that obviously are able to offer that will definitely be able to capitalize on these markets.
So cash on delivery is a key component, key criterion you feel, Joe, for this to succeed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now, and we hope obviously it could go the way of China, where that was an opportunity a few years ago, and it's actually essentially transitioned to a digital wallets, right? But then for a lot of these markets, and that's because e-commerce is just very early stages. Cash on delivery for about 85% of the target online consumers is definitely mandatory.
Okay, now that obviously puts in various other challenges, right? Means returns are an issue, and also in terms of each country has its own nuances with respect to payments. I'm not sure if you want to touch upon it, but you could possibly talk about what are the steps one needs to take. Then if you're working with marketplaces, obviously it's a lesser of the issue, but if you're trying to sell by your own web store, payments and COD could be critical parameters for success. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And the challenge is obviously not all marketplaces are created equal. So, for example, we for our services, COD services, fulfillment services, we're able to provide marketplaces with an API to plug into, but not all of them are actually capable or essentially plug and play ready. So and that makes it very difficult, as you said, to manage, especially manage reverse logistics or returns when you're trying to pass thousands of information back and forth between yourself and the 3PL or fulfillment provider over a spreadsheet, right? So those are the challenges a lot of consumers are not aware of, but I think it will be solved in due time. But clearly, yeah, you're right. This is a definite challenge, and it also makes it harder when you're dealing with cash from consumers who are not necessarily home when they're supposed to be able to deliver and collect for the transaction.
Thanks, Jojo. I think much I would like to continue talking a lot. We're running short on time. We have a 45-minute strict cutoff for the day. But I just want to summarize some of the key challenges we discussed. One, the opportunity for brands and sellers to sell on multiple marketplaces. So there are tools out there which can help you sell, which have ready integrations to marketplaces and to manage your orders and inventory from a single place. The second area which we touched upon briefly was listing your products on multiple marketplaces. So this again, not every marketplace has APIs ready, but there are many of them who are. So with the for marketplaces who have APIs ready, the tools like what Vinculum offers have ready listing services as well to help you publish your catalog on marketplaces. The critical piece for you to succeed is to look at the product and market fit, like Jesrina pointed out, like Krishnan pointed out, and the same was vetoed by Joe as well. So managing shipping, identifying the right markets to sell in, and looking at how do you manage your shipping costs. Now, customers may pay for extra premium shipping in terms of immediate deliveries, but then there are beautiful models like what LBC has in terms of consolidating deliveries and making sure that the products reach the customers more like a domestic shipping. So there are some interesting opportunities and business models out there which you can leverage. Returns and managing reconciliations can be an area where you will need to be careful. and of course, brand promise of managing a consistent experience across different markets and channels would be the other point to look at. So I just summarized some of the pointers which the experts pointed out. So these are some of the things that came out. In terms of recommendations, if you really look at it, it follows off from what the team had suggested. Build a good network of partners, build a good network of 3PLs, good network of marketplaces with whom you can partner. Use this partner to provide and build a common brand promise, and you could and you have to make it a very easy experience to work across, making your content available across different devices, like what Joe was mentioning. And the last point is payment options. You got to make it easy to work with people, so customers have their preferences in different markets. You need to be able to offer those. If you're doing through your own web store, you have to do a good study of what payment options are prevalent in each market and tune your services accordingly. Of course, the advantage of working with some of the better marketplaces is that these things are already taken care of. And similarly, established logistics players help you to be able to come back. Yeah. So if you, I think we have to open it for question and answers at this stage. But there are many use cases of how companies are succeeding domestically, internationally, by collaborating with strategic partners, which we can share with the audience. And then feel free to write to us to get use cases of different things which are going on. So I'll open up for Q&A now. So I'm just randomly picking a few questions that have come up. How can brands leverage working with multiple marketplaces at the same time? Joe, do you want to talk a bit on this? How can brands leverage working with multiple marketplaces at the same time? So if I'm a brand and I'm working with multiple marketplaces in the same market or multiple marketplaces in the region, would that be an advantage or a disadvantage? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely an advantage. Because obviously it assumes that your marketplace partner understands truly your brand promise and has plugged you into the right marketplaces. But clearly the leverage is multiples, right? If the amount of work to actually onboard into one marketplace, especially if you are able to have a partner that can onboard you almost immediately with the same amount, with a fraction of the effort, right? Is going to pay dividends long term.
Okay, now essentially it's an advantage if you have multiple marketplaces. However, of course, if you have a strategic marketplace that you're collaborating with and they're able to take care and you are happy with the kind of volume that you're generating, so it's possible that you may work with one or two. But in general, it's an advantage. So it boils down to the kind of brand that we are talking, right? So if that will drive what kind of a model that you're looking at, but multiple marketplaces is an advantage. There's a question on cross-border formalities. How does one handle import and export? Joe, you can take that. I'll also add on to it.
Well, obviously that's why you need to identify the right fulfillment partner. But for us, obviously, we take that out of the equation, right? We obviously make sure that everything is we follow all the local regulatory requirements, right? A lot of things that we do is essentially to automate that, and also at the same time we can essentially dynamically identify what's the cost of processing different items based on the policies, right, of the country. So those are things that that you need.
So see, in terms of LBC, obviously you cater to many countries. Just to add on to what Joe mentioned there, what Vinculum does is we work with strategic logistics partners like LBC. We also have a partner called One World, for example. So what One World does is if you are selling your products on marketplaces in the UK, it could be Amazon, it could be eBay, it could be many of the local marketplaces in Europe, they take care of shipment into 28 plus European countries. So which means they take care of the customs, the inboarding, the actual, you can trace it in terms of delivery right up to the customer. So what it effectively means, let's say I'm a manufacturer in India or a manufacturer in Singapore, if I take India, you would literally work with a domestic logistics company to get it into a bonded warehouse kind of thing, and from there One World will pick it up and take it to the end customer in Europe. So the costs, like Joe was mentioning, the platforms make it visible, so which means you already know what the shipment costs are, you already know what the duties involved are, and these things are factored into your end price at which you sell in the marketplace. So this is something which is available as part of the platform with Vinculum's retail products as well. So we are integrated to cross-border platforms, and we are helping companies take steps into different markets already. So this is something which you can leverage. So I'll pick one more. There's a similar question. I see many questions on this. Maybe we'll. There is someone again, Mr. Vivek Surana, who has asked a question saying, when we talk about cross-border e-commerce, there are legal implications. Now, legal implications, again, it's a related topic. So when you work with established partners like LBC, you would, these are things which are taken out of the equation. So they would do things legally, they would do things what is allowed as per the principles of the country to which you are selling in, and they would take care of the customs and actual shipment as well. So, but we could possibly, I'm seeing at least 20 questions in this particular area, so possibly we could make a ready reckoner for people to go through and share that for people. Yes, I think we did have some audio issues. There are a lot of people who have wanted to hear more from Krishnan. Sorry about that. We would try and get the recording done better and share it in the final recording so that you could download and hear some of the pointers. We have some questions there, Joe. I don't know whether this is the best forum for it, but there is a question on what innovations have LBC done for facilitating cross-border. You could actually talk about how we are converting it into a domestic shipping, helping companies buy in US. Maybe you can talk about that a bit.
Yeah. Well, again, probably the innovations are things that you won't necessarily see from the product itself. So we have a product called shippingcart.com, and it caters to right now Philippine consumers, as I mentioned. So, but then the price arbitrage is something that I mentioned to you. It's clear, you know, in summary, the innovations are with analytics that we're doing. We have a pretty good understanding of the cost of the goods in the local market, and obviously we understand what consumers are buying in cross-border in other parts of the market. So we monitor obviously the price arbitrage, as I mentioned, and we look at ways where we can actually find that same advantage in other markets. So that's essentially maybe the big part of it, and the other is really, as I said, is optimizing the cost. We have not necessarily opened up to the other markets that we want to, mainly because of the volumes and the opportunity for especially air shipping, right, is where we are looking to get a cost advantage. So when we see that when it's ready, that's when we actually open it up. And then that also we use our data, our analytics, to help us identify which markets we open up.
Great. No, thanks, Joe. One last before we go off, there's some questions on how brands from different countries can sell in different marketplaces. So then, feel free to reach us here. So companies like Vinculum, what we do is we are building ready integrations into marketplaces in many countries. So, for example, we are integrated into soup.com in the Middle East, a Matahari Mall in Indonesia, a We Love Shopping in Thailand, a Qoo10 in Singapore, or a Street Living in Malaysia, so a Lazada, Zalora in the region. So if you're really looking at selling in any of these marketplaces, we have ready integrations into the marketplaces. We also have ready integrations with very well-established players like LBC, and there are a few other regional players we work with. So by working with platforms such as ourselves, it's easy to sell on marketplaces from a technology standpoint. You still will need to figure out the market fit. You still will need to figure out what are the shipping costs involved, and see whether the cost, the resultant total cost, is something which is viable to sell in which market. So the groundwork would still need to be done. And I think technology-wise, there are beautiful solutions out there which can help you to sell cross-border into different countries. I'll have a close here, unfortunately. So thank you very much for joining today, and thanks to all the panelists for spending their time. Thank you very much for your time.